Yo, what's up, guys? So today we're gonna be talking about For Hal, also known as Pirate Software, a man who is against Stop Killing Games. So you've probably seen the drama around him, and today I learned something new, not about the drama, about him and Stop Killing Games, and he wants to kill the Stop Killing Games initiative because he thinks it's very dumb. There's something even more concerning about him. So, if you don't know exactly what he does and who he is, he worked in Blizzard, and he has 20 years of experience with coding. Now, he made, a game, and I just watched a video from Coding Jesus that actually point out a few concerning facts that I would say are very bad. Now we're gonna talk about them. And also, if you want to watch a video from Coding Jesus, you have a link in the description, just so you know. But first you have to watch my video, understand? And subscribe. Messy codes and basically his code is so messy and unexpressive. It's just spaghetti code for a developer that has 20 years of experience. That shouldn't be it. He has a lack of understanding of how to represent information in the program. He does it wrong. He just doesn't know. He uses numbers to represent something. So let's say main player character is number 1. Now all the NPCs also have their corresponding numbers. So let's say the merchant has number 2, the doctor has number 3, your dog is number 5. And the more you have game characters and other stuff, the more numbers you have. And now, how he does it? The main character is basically number 1. But how would you know it was number 1? How would you know that is the game character? How would you remember? Of course, using confusing code and so much comments that you cannot forget. He has more comments in his code than actual code that does something. Now, if you're not a game developer, comments are basically just something like you put dash dash or whatever you call the lines, and and just tell yourself what does this code do. So let's say you have a code that runs animation, like your animations, just say, and then you just write out, just if you forget. But he has so much. So let's say he has, if this happens, comment, but if this happens, then also he comments it. He has so much comments that it's just confusing. And how also we're still on the lack of understanding to represent information in a program. If you're new, how would you know your main character is number 1? How would you know? You have to remember it. If you want to ever call that character, you're gonna have to type that number 1. But if you don't remember, you just type the name. What's the name of the main player character? It's gonna be wrong. Your code won't work. His code is so bad that I have to say it's non-complex but also complex. Now you mean, what do you mean complex but non-complex? How does that? It has to be one or another. No, my friends, no. Pirate Software managed to make such a poo-poo code, such a bad code, that it's just confusing for anybody else. I have to say that. if you're a fan of him, never go work for him. If you're a programmer, because you're gonna have to deal with such spaghetti bad code that you would better go to work with Yandere Dev. And I have to say, he's a shit person, but his code is even better. His code is somehow better than this. I don't know how Pirate Software managed to make such a bad code that Yandere Dev has better code. And if you remember, if you ever watched, Yandere Dev is the guy who made Yandere Simulator, but when he hired a developer, or it wasn't an intern, Yandere Dev's code is also just spaghetti code. It's so messy. Like, if you go work for him, you wouldn't know what it does. You wouldn't know about that guy just, redid all of his code and fix stuff. But yeah, if you go work for Pirate Software, you ain't gonna do that, because he worked at Blizzard. You cannot do that to him. He also used storyline arrays for events, if I remember correctly. Like, so let's say when you go to the counter in the shop and you buy coffee, you get coffee. So that's the event. If you buy coffee, in your inventory you get coffee. And he has a bunch of events. So that means a bunch of storyline arrays. And that means for every event that happens, he has to have a number. And if he mistypes the number, the game breaks, basically. The game will not work as intended. And guess what? For every array, he has a long comment that says what exactly it does, because you cannot remember. Now, that's the worst way to do it. I can do a better way with my limited years of experience in working with game development. I mean, I made few games, 3 of them are public, others are not. And that's just bad. Now, I don't know if you're a subscriber to him, and know more about him, but if you ever watch his streams, where game dev streams, game dev, he just does this, talks a little bit of his code. He just shows on screen his code, but never programs in a game dev stream, where you should program basically, and you explain a little bit on what this does, while coding, and just show off your game. He just shows code and talks about it, or talks about something much random. Then he goes and just reviews other games, talks about other games, and of course, what I see his subscriber count, just to see if it went up or down. Now, why doesn't he show himself programming? That's concerning. And I can say, I know one person that also makes a bunch of comments. Now, I'm not gonna point any fingers, but I know one. At the start, when I started game developing, I was heavily with YouTube, and guess who? ChatGPT. And everything I asked ChatGPT, so let's say to write me a script for movement. We're just gonna use movement because the most simplest starter code to make a character move. You need a character movement code for your player to move. So we're just gonna use that. And guess what? He gives me this is your speed. This is what makes you move. These are your buttons that make you move, and so on. So that's I'm not, like I said, I'm not gonna point any fingers, but it's kinda but I don't know if it's really AI that does all of his work, because his AI can make better code than him, anybody can make a better code than him. Someone who's a junior in programming can make a better code than him. No joke. And also, you know how he watches his subscriber count go up. I want to watch mine, so subscribe. I have banger lives and videos and streaming basically every day. Today and yesterday we played Outlast. Tomorrow also subscribe. I believe in you. And yeah, I'm gonna link the video to Coding Jesus so you can go and watch it for yourself. He goes more into detail. He has much more experience, so he can explain to you better. And yeah, that's about it, guys. Thank you for watching this. You're a cool man if you watch this, or a woman. Not pointing fingers, non-binary, that's okay. And yeah, see you later, guys.